So we kind of adopted this for Oyster South for any sort of tech innovations on the farm that anybody has done, whether it be a private company or a farmer or whatever. So there are some rules for this game. I'm going to introduce people, tell you where they're from, as well as what they're going to talk about, and then I'm going to start a timer for 3 minutes, and that's all you have. Whenever your 3 minutes are up, I will be playing an air horn sound to get you off. When y'all hear that air horn, I need you in the audience to start clapping for me. That way we will usher them off the stage, okay? So this is meant to be fast and fun, and I hope y'all enjoy it. So first up, we have Bill Walton. If you don't know him, he is from Virginia Institute of Marine Science. And he's going to talk to you about the farmed oyster benchmarking system. So, ready?
Okay. I wanted to talk to you about the Farmed Oyster Benchmarking Program, or the FOB. And this important part of this is that there is no perfect oyster. 3-2-1 is not a magic number. It doesn't mean you're trying to get to that ratio. You are trying to find the perfect market fit for your oysters. That means, what does your customer want, and how do your oysters differentiate in the marketplace? So, you need to understand what you are producing. How does it compare to what else is in the marketplace? Do you want to change it? And can you increase the consistency of that product? So what might matter? Obviously, we all eat oysters. Salinity matters, flavor matters, shuckability matters. I haven't found a good measure for that yet. But we do know that we can measure things like how clean the shells are, the shell sizes, the shell shapes like the cup and the fan, how full the meat is, and some of the meat characteristics. We are using a system from South Australia that rates the different parts of the meat quality to give a score. So what would you see if you got a FOB score from us? Well, your sample X, and in sample X, we give you back your scores. This is what your oysters weighed on average. This is what their shell width was. This is what the cup of the oyster is, and so on. We don't give you anybody else's numbers. We just tell you what the database has for average. So for example, the oysters in this sample were 48 grams. They're much less than the overall average. Then you look at the cup, well, they were a deeper cup. These were more cupped oysters. I don't know which one is better. We're just trying to tell you where you are. We do know consistency is important. So within a shipment, we can tell you how much each of those factors varies. So for example, most of the oysters in your shipment were between 67 and 74 millimeters. So you know that now. You can also provide you statistical comparisons of how consistent your product is compared to the market average. So how does it help you? It provides you a measure of where you are relative to the market. You can use it to see how your product changes in response to decisions that you make and how that changes over time. You can use it to see what comes out of the bag and what is selected for market. This is not a wine spectator score. This is not a grade. This isn't telling you your oyster's better or worse than somebody else's. It's just telling you what it is, okay? We're not setting industry standards. I feel like a salesman doing a 3-minute talk. There isn't any more to this except if you're interested in doing this, you send a sample to us. You have to arrange that. We don't want to be bombarded with samples. You send us 100 oysters at your expense. We give you back those scores, and we give you compared to the market averages. We'll ask you for some basic information like the culture method, the ploidy. You provide as much as you can and are willing, and we are working to add some measures to the database, and we're glad to discuss. If you're interested, contact me. I can't read that anymore, but that's walton@vims.edu or Jordan Litch, my research and farm lab manager, and we will make sure we get your oysters processed and the information back to you.
Whoa, he has 6 seconds. There we go. All right.
I didn't want the air horn.
He's afraid. All right, so next up we have Natalie Anderson from the University of Florida Shellfish Aquaculture Extension Program. She is going to be talking to you about the online oyster culture class. So are you ready, Natalie?
I'm ready.
All right, hit that timer.
Again, I'm Natalie. I'm with UF Shellfish Extension, and I am discussing the online oyster culture course. It's a virtual learning experience. So oyster culture, or intensive aquaculture of the oyster in the Gulf, has really taken off in the past decade, and it continues to grow and develop as an industry. However, COVID-19 restricted our outreach efforts as in-person programs were canceled. So instead, we looked at a virtual format to offer educational opportunities for prospective growers. We created the course using the Teachable platform, which consists of custom domains, web pages, it hosts content and video, and it allows us to monitor student activity. At the end, a course certificate of completion is offered. We solicited instructors from universities, federal and state agencies, industry associations, and gear suppliers and manufacturers to offer 40 presentations that total 11 and a half hours of video content. Now, this course is free, and it's broken down into 4 sessions that take students all the way from the basics of how to get started to how to grow a crop of oysters through harvest. Once you're enrolled, you can start the course at any time and take it at your own pace. There is no time limit. For these sessions, each of the lessons consist of short video presentations and resource links for additional information. All of the handouts are downloadable, and at the end of each session is a discussion where you can interact with other students and ask questions of your instructors. In January, we sent out a survey to 400 enrolled students to evaluate the usefulness of the course and the knowledge gained through pre and post scores. We had a 9% return rate, with 66% of students being extremely satisfied in the course and 71% likely to recommend it to others. More importantly, the course offers a good basic foundation to beginning oyster growers, as seen in our knowledge gain scores. Since the course has launched about 9 months ago, we have over 430 students enrolled, many of which leave very positive feedback on the access of the course ease, the topics we covered, and the instructors they are able to discuss with. If you haven't already, please enroll in this course. It is free, it offers a great foundation to learning, and I have flyers available for anyone interested. Thank you.
All right, man, they are setting some 3-minute Tech Talk records over here. She had 23 extra seconds, so we might need, no, you don't, it's not a, yeah, we don't give those back, so. No refunds, returns, or exchanges. All right, so next up we have Andy DePaola. He is with Andy DePaola Consulting, and he is going to talk to us about the Shoreliner, living shoreline and working waterfront.
Yep.
So if you click to the next
Where are my
slide.
notes?
If you sent them, they'd be here.
Okay, I thought they were there. Okay, they're
They
not.
should be there.
Okay. Okay, shell elevators come in many manifestations to fit any shore. The Mobile Bay, Mississippi Sound, where we have our farms, are gently sloping shores that are generally too shallow to put the shell elevator express, which we'll be demonstrating at 3 o'clock out there on the pier across the street. But generally those require about 2.5 feet. So we needed something that would work in the shallow waters where we have our farms. So we came up with a new integrated design. This shows a shell elevator shoreliner in construction. It has, you can see the 4 lift tanks are integrated into a barge hull. And each one of those can be controlled to up it, to raise and lower this in a controlled manner. So this is the shell elevator shoreliner that's deployed during a winter tide. I took this photo a few weeks ago. We had a very extreme low tide. This was really kind of to show how they hunker down and stay put during hurricanes. I've lost my pier 7 times, but never lost a shell elevator. So they're hunkering down, floundering like burying down like a flounder would in a bed. So the good thing about the shoreliner is that with the 8-inch framing and a single layer of oyster grove frames, they're completely submerged and out of sight in 16 inches, unlike the floating gear that you see in the background here, which has some evidence of neighbors. And there are neighbors all around us. So like all shell elevators, the shell elevator shoreliner automates your repetitive procedures like desiccation and tumbling. You can raise it from one side to the other. Often when you put these along the shore, the waves push the oysters toward the shore, and by lifting that side up, the oysters roll back down. And so you save a lot on your back without even having to get in the water and get wet or touch anything. you can position Shellevator shoreliner in very, very shallow water. Like I said, it's submerged in 16 inches. And if you put it in an area where it intertidally desiccates in the wave energy, you can get these polished sculpted oysters, which actually have a double cup. We have some at our table here. And it's a perfect peer companion. It's a marriage between a living shoreline and a working waterfront.
There is something in the water today because he had 20 extra seconds. Yeah. All right, I like that. No pressure, man, no pressure. All right, so next up we have Cam Kim from Blue Trace. He is going to talk to you about Blue Trace tag printing and traceability. So, are you ready?
Yeah, let it rip. That's loud. Cam from Blue Trace is going to talk about the Blue Trace tagging system. So we have a simple, easy to use app. You download it on your iPhone or iPad, and it prints out your harvest and dealer tags. So this is post-harvest, not the stuff that for your gear in the water, but stuff that you're selling, retail tags and boxes. So the app has 3 screens. The first screen is enter in all of your tag information, certification numbers, harvest information, all that good stuff. The middle screen is your log. At any point in time, you can pull your phone out of your pocket, say, what did I do yesterday, last week, last month, last year? And the settings is how you build out your first screen, because on tag day, nobody wants to type in a bunch of shit on your iPhone, and you get the fat thumb, so you just pick it and you're ready to rip. So the log is really nice. All of your data, you have it yourself. It's stored in the cloud. You can export yourself a log at any moment in time, so you can email yourself in a spreadsheet and have all your data there, or you can email yourself a PDF and print that out as well. So we get a question a lot, what about logo tags? We don't do that. Logos, that's the thing of the past. Now it's the future, RFIDs and QR codes. There's QR codes embedded in the bottom of every tag, and that's part marketing and part cold chain compliance. So you can add a nice picture. It goes to a landing page. You can add a nice picture of your farm, of your logo, and then it has some cold chain stuff, when it was harvested, where it was shipped, and then you can put some branding information as well. So, you have the wine tasting notes. You can put all of your oyster tasting notes. So growing process, what it tastes like, et cetera, et cetera. So what is the cost? For this printer that I just printed out, 20 or 30 tags, however long that was, that printer costs $500. It comes with a printer and 1,500 tags. It is a thermal Bluetooth printer. The software integrates, so you don't have to use any CDs or anything to install it with. It doesn't use ink. The tags don't smear. They last really well. That comes with 1,500 tags. There's no software license fee or anything like that. You're just paying for tag refills. The refill prices are $250 plus shipping for every additional 1,500 tags, and that comes out to roughly 16 cents a tag. We also have an industrial printer option. That's a larger printer that holds more tags. The tags are about 9 cents a tag, and that costs $1,200 to get started with that printer and 3,600 tags. So this is all in the broad traceability market as well, and so we want all of the farmers to use our tags. So hopefully we have a distributor version of our app, and distributors and processors can then scan in these tags and immediately get the data as well. It reduces a lot of the human error of handwritten logs and handwritten tags, and then the processors and the seafood dealers that you sell to have to hand log everything and then ship it out as well. And so we're doing lot-to-lot traceability, hopefully making the market more efficient and safer as well, which would boost the industry as a whole. And if you have any questions, email me.
All right, man, I should have been writing down times. This should be like a competition now. He had 23 extra seconds, so.
This is your assertive style, Vicki.
I think it's the threat of an air horn. It really puts the fear of the Lord in people, so. All right, next up we have Mr. Mike Arguelles from French Hermit Oyster Company. We'll let him get set up. He is going to talk to you about his post-storm cage retrieval system. So take your time and you let us know when you're ready.
Okay. Let's see if I can stand in front of the mic so everybody can hear me. I don't want to hold it.
You want to hold it?
hands
Okay, just kidding.
You going to hold it? Okay. What I'm talking about today is the oyster grow cage. That's what I have. 6-bag oyster grow cage. Has floats like this. The floats are held onto the cage by 5 wire strands. And they're designed to sink during a storm. We escort them down, make sure that the pontoon is what's on the bottom as opposed to the oysters. And hopefully they stay that way. When you go back after the storm, sometimes, a lot of times, the float is sunk down into the bottom. Sand, a little bit of mud. So we use a winch to try and pull it up. We hook to the cage, and it breaks the strands. So the idea is I want to pull it up without stressing the strands. So I made this device. This is a stainless cable. It's a bridle, so there's two of them, one for each pontoon. And so the idea is I want to pull this float from inside, not anywhere. I'm not stressing any wires. And if you can get underneath the cage, you know, somebody that's in the water can put this inside. So it goes in, there's two pipes, and then there's a bungee in there that lets the pipe fold out. And this is what you're pulling against. These floats are very strong. But the neat thing about this device is how do you get it out? So there's a bungee that holds it like a T, and then there's another cable that, can you hold that? So if I pull on the second cable, then the two pipes line up and you can get it out, go to the next cage. So that's the device.
There you go. All right, Mike.
Wow. That was 2 minutes and 6 seconds. That's pretty good. 6 seconds. He's the winner so far, so I feel like this is a Price is Right, you know. All right. Let's see. Next up, we have Chris Webb from AI Control Technologies, and he is going to talk to you about storm and growth protection technologies for oyster farming. So let me come on up here.
Hello, I'm Chris Webb. I call my company AI Control Technologies. We're an electronics and software company. Going back a few years, my company started in Switzerland. I'm a great scuba diver. We wanted a solution for scuba divers, so we provided them with a product. What does that product do? It enables them to go down slowly or come up very slowly or stay at a level. These are critical life-saving issues for scuba divers. It's a really exciting product we built, but we were approached by the Department of Energy in America. So I came over to work on this project. It was based in Mississippi. What they wanted me to do is build a control system for a platform to grow seaweed. Seaweed's important to America as a biofuel because it can be converted to ethylene. And also, funnily enough, it can be fed as a feedstuff to animals. It reduces methane emission. So what we started to do, I had a chance to meet a lot of oyster farmers, and I've always loved oysters. So we've built a little video to explain what we're going to do for the oyster farmers in Mississippi.
This is Bradley. Bradley manages an oyster farm in the Gulf of Mexico. He loves what he does, but he and his crew spend way too much time, money, and energy traveling out on his boat. To produce strong, tasty oysters, Bradley has to manually flip his caged oyster grow-out bags to emulate daily tides, as a part of a biofouling process called desiccation. Not to mention the personal injury risk from the heavy manual labor and extreme weather. There's gotta be a better way, right? Meet AI Control Technologies. Our virtual artificial intelligence technology allows oyster farmers like Bradley to automate their practices, reduce boat travel time and costs, and save crops and equipment from weather damage. With remote depth submersion control, the technology frees Bradley to boost productivity and profits, and dedicate more time and labor to growing his business. AI Control Technologies, transforming aquaculture one farmer at a time.
My mission today is to meet as many off-the-bottom oyster farmers as I can. What we'd like to do is set up a meeting to demonstrate our technology to you. We'd like to hear from you what would work for you. We plan to do that fairly shortly. We're going to demonstrate our equipment to 3 farmers across there on Deer Island. We're going to have a communications capability, a handheld terminal. You can send a signal from here or your office in Biloxi and instruct your cages to do certain things, like desiccate tomorrow, or desiccate tonight and come back up again in the morning. The other key thing we do is if a storm comes in, you can send an immediate instruction to sink all your cages. and we take them down to the ocean floor, however close or far it is. These are the key things Mississippi farmers have asked us for. Clearly, we're talking about farmers around the US, so you may have different...
And I finally got to use it. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So if you are interested in... Oh, it's still going. All right, so if you are interested in more information, please see Chris afterwards. Next up, we have Mark, and I'm not even going to try the last name. He can tell you his last name. He is with Oyster Grow Aqua Farming Systems, and he is going to talk to you today about Oyster Grow, engineered for the environment, engineered for the future. So we will wait for him to get situated.
Yep, you ready?
Yeah, I'm good. Hey everyone, my name's Mark Gogan with Oyster Grow. For those of you that don't know us, we've been in the industry manufacturing off-bottom cages for about 20 years. And I know that's been very challenging for some farmers in the Gulf. A lot of you have been hit by storms, hurricanes, and it's a fact of life for you folks. And also, there's a lot of you that are in rough waters, a lot of stronger winds, and it's tough on gear. I know there's some good competition today on gear types. So what Oyster Grow wants to have done in the last couple of years, we want to help those farmers by coming up with some good cage improvements, and I want to share that with you today. So the first one is clips. We've come up with our own clips. They're wider, they're stronger. Also, we offer a heavy-duty strand. It's much stronger and stiffer. And also, when we install it, we use a hog ring between a couple of clips to make sure that there's no way that the strand can come out. Also, at the neck strands, we make sure that there are no gaps when we install the strands. On our newer style pontoons, what we've done is buried the strands on the side of the pontoon to make sure that the boat can't hit the strands, removing the coating on the strands. This is our new cage closer. It's easy to install, it's rugged, we make it in-house, and it's a true mechanical lock. You're not relying on the bungee to hold the door closed. Something else we've been working on, we offer an easy ship format for shipping. This saves tremendously on the cost of shipping. You can fit more than double in a trailer. And lastly, we came up with our own line of aluminum cages. They're called hybrid shift. These have been engineered to be very rugged, provide a full bag containment, and drastically reduce shipping costs as well. It's a full line. The enhanced life expectancy make this the ultimate Oyster Grow cage.
There we go.
Thank you.
Right. 6 seconds to spare. That's pretty good. All right. Next up we have Dewey. Is it Hauck? And he is from Cypress Point Oyster Company. And he's going to talk to you today about using artificial intelligence to predict oyster growth. So you start whenever you are ready.
Hi. I'm glad everybody came. None of this is for sale, by the way. But when we first started, we needed a methodology that we could keep track of our oysters by. And lots of good software out there, but we wanted to be able to track weight. So we could use weight as a surrogate for understanding how many oysters we actually had on the water. And so I built this system that essentially attached an RFID reader, which are on every bag, to a scale, and we started collecting data from the very beginning, 23 cohorts over time. And at the first Oyster South meeting that we went to, Jared from Barrier Island, I was explaining this to him, I was very excited, and he said, well, why would you do that? And so it turned out to be a really good question. He apologized later for asking the question, but it did force us to say, okay, why are we collecting this data? And the objective is, or was and still is, to be able to know how many oysters we have of each of the 6 sizes that we track at any given instant in time. That's first, so we can do continuous inventory. And second was, we wanted to understand how fast oysters grew based on a variety of conditions: salinity, temperature, time of the year, all the things that you would normally think about as being important to oyster growth. And so those were the reasons why we began collecting data. And so over 3 years that we've collected data, we began to see patterns in the data that were perfectly repeatable. It turns out that oyster growth, as we characterize it as instantaneous compound growth rate, we didn't make that up, it came from the literature, but we saw that this I rate, or instantaneous rate of growth, varied as a sine function on a 365-day period. So on a yearly period, you see this really nice sine wave of compound daily oyster growth rate. And we thought, well, that's really interesting retrospectively, but how can we really use that to plan work on the farm? And planning work on the farm means how many oysters do I have available for harvest? When should I optimally split a cohort? And so these questions begged a solution, which was how do we compute or project compound growth rate in the future? And I have an AI background, so I was like, well, let's try AI. And so we started to train AI regression algorithms on our data over the last 3 years worth of data to help us predict and understand and optimize work on the farm. So that was the point of it. What we need to do now is get some independent verification methods using other types of statistical methods and look at how well our predictor does going forward in the future. But it does about 10%, within about 10% of the observed growth rate. So thank you.
Thank you, Dewey.
Thank you, Dewey.
All right, and we have our last 3-minute tech talk. So we have Darryl Steiner from Roaming Oyster, and he is going to talk to you about the Shellevator Express offshore wet storage. So you start whenever you are ready.
All right, good afternoon. The Roaming Oyster is also where we bring our oysters to the table. So it's a food truck. We work in Mobile County, primarily in South Mobile County and Dauphin Island area, and we sell charbroiled oysters and raw oysters and lots of good, yummy South Alabama seafood. But the Shellevator Express, it's out here today, and just to let you know, it's already storm ready. It's on the bottom right now, and it's ready for a hurricane. The only thing you have to do is come back after the storm and raise it. So we're going to work on meeting our going out and harvest and getting back to the dock within 1 hour to meet our summertime Vibrio plan. So we'd launch our boat, end up running out to the Grand Bay Oyster Park. It takes about 8 or 10 minutes to get out there. By myself, I pull up to the Shellevators. You'll see if you make the demonstration out here. If you've seen it, we got a mast hanging off the back of it. Pull up to it, grab the manifold, pump some air into it, raise it up, unclip the anchor from a carabiner, hook it onto the tow line, and now we're in tow. And it's just me and the Shellevator, and we're headed back towards the bayou. So we can tow it at 15 miles an hour, and we've got 30,000 oysters on there. Before the Shellevators, current other models were not planing hulls, and they would only go like 2, 3, 4 miles an hour and seem to dive down by the nose and cause a lot of problems. So we've went to a planing hull now, and it seems to work a lot better. So now we're towing into Bayou Battery. We're going to arrive at Waterfront Seafood, or we can stop at the boat ramp, put this thing on a trailer it to the nearest seafood dealer, with there's a few of them that we use there, and we can be there within our hour as quick as we can. Then we can go by land or sea. So the Shellevator Express is the quickest way to transport oysters from areas that you're forecasting closures, or you're seeing low salinity and you want to change the flavor of an oyster. We got 3 locations over in South Mobile County. So if we see low salinity over in Mobile Bay, we can, in a couple hours, we could be in Portersville Bay, where there's optimal growing conditions, or we can be over in Grand Bay where, it's just really good. So we're really proud of what we got going here, and it seems to be the best and most efficient way to move oysters and be ready for storms. So it's also made in America. It's made in Battle, Alabama too, which is my hometown. I'm very proud to be from there. And hopefully we start building these things a lot more. We build them in the backyard now, and got a couple of us work on it, but we'll be able to employ more people, create revenue for the city, and have something to be proud of there. So y'all come over and see the Shellevator. If you haven't already seen it, I think it's the coolest thing at the at Oyster South here this year. And thank y'all.
There we go. All right. Thank you to all of our presenters. I think that was the best 3-minute Tech Talk.